The illustrious Jabba bids you welcome. I'm going to regret this.
I'm Pete Mitchell. He's Peyton Jones. And this is the Church Planter Podcast, brought to you by Church Planter Magazine. Did you know that 98% of people say that they would attend church if invited by a friend, yet only 2% of churchgoers say they're actively inviting? Reach was started to change this stat to give people a better way to invite. Reach equips congregations to invite friends in a powerful and scalable way. For every check-in on Facebook and tag on Instagram, a donation is made to a kingdom-building cause. More people hear about church from their friends, and more good is done around the world. It's that simple. Reach is offering a special promotion for Church Planter Podcast listeners. Get your first month free. To get started, just visit Causley.com/reach and sign up using the promo code podcast.
Oh my gosh, that is seriously the funniest thing I've ever seen. Pete actually did a jib jab in high speed while his voice was playing that commercial. And I had muted myself because he kept going, shh, don't speak. He was getting ready to start the podcast. But oh my gosh, man. If I had milk in my mouth, it would have shot out.
No one understands what just happened. No one understands. So
that was rad.
We finally recorded one of our commercials because everyone remembers from the MoGive days, or should I say that sponsor who will not be named anymore.
Because they don't pay us anymore?
But we used to like butcher their commercial week after week, and every week Peyton's like, hey, why don't we just, record one? And so we finally did it on the one Reach commercial that we finally did right? Because we kept just murdering that one. And so that's what we just played. And so last week, if you listened to the podcast, you were like, you heard Peyton go, it was really confusing because I could hear your voice coming through Skype, and I'm looking at your face and your lips aren't moving. So this time I decided to move my lips. The commercial.
There's a Batman video where it shows Batman and Superman. Superman's like, let's team up. Batman's like, why? And there's this whole thing. Anyways, Jim Gordon walks up into the conversation. And at one point, he pulls his glasses off to polish the lenses. And Batman goes, Jim, where'd you go? And he's kind of stupid. He's like, who are you? What'd you do with Jim? And because they're talking to Clark Kent about, hey, come on. Oh, that's what it was. He's telling Clark, look, where's Jim Gordon? Anyone seen him? I'm somebody else. And he's like mocking because he calls Superman Clark. And he's like, hey, not in front of Jim Gordon, to protect my identity. And he's like, look, Clark, we know, but anyways, it keeps fooling Batman. It's the funniest stinking thing. And that's what that felt like, was your mouth wasn't moving. And I was like, Batman, like, how's Pete doing that?
Is this from like a Lego Batman?
No, it actually...
It sounds like a Lego Batman.
Is that in Lego Batman?
No, but it sounds like something you would see in the Lego Batman.
No, it's one of the guys who does the spoofs where he dresses up and he goes, I'm not the one they deserve. I don't remember who he was. He had a really funny video at one point that he did, and I watched it. But this one was actually, there was a lot of the F word and things like that. So I'm like, yeah, because I'm a dad. And so I try not to watch a bunch of stuff that Liberty can't watch. You know what I mean? Right. Walking Dead accepting, of course.
But that's well, I don't know. There's probably profanity in that. They don't drop the F-bomb.
There is. It's more the flesh-eating zombies.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Munching on babies and stuff. I try to keep away from that.
I'm just saying, baby meat's the best.
Oh, you did not.
Yum, yum.
You just lost all of our females again. See, we go through waves. And our sensitive metrosexual church planning hipster males.
Are you feeling good because you finally learned what a metrosexual is?
Well, we got called it, so I had to look it up. We're definitely not that.
Okay,
How many
boys
people
and girls.
we just offended in the last 60 seconds?
I'm going for 100%.
This isn't even a record for us.
We were going to do a podcast on our goals. My goal is to get everyone offended at least one time in one episode.
Oh,
that's my goal.
Can we save that for like, are we hitting like towards 400 now or 300 or what's our
I think
next
we're coming
centennial?
up on our next one will be 250. 250.
250? We're not at 250 yet?
No, we're at like 238, I think is this one.
Okay, but if we had kept the two podcasts together, remember we split them into two?
Then we'd be up to 3, probably 25.
It's kind of like He-Man's Sword of Power. There's one that Skeletor holds. That's you. And then there's one that Adam holds. That's me.
But I will say this. This podcast is the one that has all the listeners.
All the listeners. By the way, if you guys have not been listening, thank you for that segue, to Hardcore Church Planning, that is our half-hour interview. In fact, that's more like the one if you were new to us, you would go onto that podcast and we'd actually be legit. You'd be like, oh, this is a really good church planning podcast.
You would listen to that one and go, oh, he's saved.
You would, as opposed to this one where you're like, can they even be saved? Please tell me you have that. Please tell me you have that sound clip.
I don't have it fired up. But that's what people have actually said. Stephanie is a great example. Are these guys even saved?
That was her first reaction. She shared this on the Bible Inner Circle group. By the way, I sent you over. Ching, ching. I sent you over.
Which you can find out more about at BibleInnerCircle.com.
You have to share. There was a wager going on in the Ministry Bible Inner Circle thread whether or not you would be playing.
So was the wager, did it have a little something to do with?
Hi, I'm Scott Blair, church planner. If you are anything like I used to be, you probably woke up feeling alone and somewhat isolated today, wondering to yourself, why isn't there just one place that I can go to discuss the things I really care about, like bear attacks, Sir Mix-a-Lot, Game of Thrones, and even Christology? Well, I'm here to tell you such a place now exists. This is not make-believe. I would not joke about a thing like this. Pete Mitchell and Peyton Jones have created such a place. No. It's not heaven. They didn't create that, but it's the next best thing. The Bible Ministry Inner Circle.
Oh, my
that dude
gosh.
Knows how to throw down an ad.
I think the funniest part is I'm so used to listening to everybody at 4 times speed that I'm like, dude, seriously, get to the point.
That's rad.
Which everyone who's in the Bible Inner Circle knows what I mean by that, because everyone listens 2, 3, 4 times speed.
Everybody has their speed too. Have you noticed this? Like,
yeah,
you can't scrub everybody. Like, hey, David, 4 speed, 4 times speed.
Easy,
right?
Hands down.
But he's got that like Barry White, like rich, baritone. Now and that guy is such a great storyteller. I could listen. He told a 30-minute story. Voxer kept cutting him off.
Right at 15 minutes.
15 minutes. And he'd come back on and go, oh, there was my 15 minutes. And then he'd finish his story and it ran over 2 15-minute Voxers. And it was so good.
Yeah.
I sat and listened to it 30 minutes straight. Went on there.
What's funny is everybody did. Like, normally when I see something that's like 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm going to listen to the first couple of minutes. And if they haven't gotten to their point, I'm gone. But he was telling the story and you were just like listening to it. You were glued the whole way through.
That guy has experiences and stories, man. That guy has lived some life. He's got some wisdom.
And so you guys understand what we're talking about. We got this thing called Bible Inner Circle. And what we do for part of it is we have what's called a Voxer chat group. And so it's a private chat group. And we've got, right now, we've got 3 of them. One is for what we call our Platinum Bible Inner Circle guys. Those are guys who I'm training on how to do all of the stuff that I do, the full-blown consulting stuff, so that way they can earn a living doing that while being a pastor, because they're not all church planners. Some of them are just in ministry. Some of them are, like we've got one guy whose church, he goes, I wouldn't consider it a church plan. It's about 5 years old, and we've got about 375 people, He's like, but our people are, the downtrodden, the homeless, the junkie. He goes, we don't have enough money to pay, staff. So he's like, I gotta do something else to make a living while I'm doing what God's called me to do. So that's our what we call our platinum Bivo Inner Circle. And then we got our regular Bivo Inner Circle, which is, we talk about how to do what we call social media consulting, how to put together online training programs, stuff like that. And then we've got the ministry Bivo group. And that's where some of the best conversations take place. And you're hearing from guys and gals in ministry, in some facet of ministry. And that could mean that they are getting ready to go out into the ministry. It could mean they are coming off of the ministry field. It's what I would call it's a safe place. Like, we're not there to like hammer someone like, how dare you leave ministry? Like I shared with you, we had a guy, one of the guys reached out to me privately and was like, look, man, I got stuff going on in my life. And I'm thinking I got to drop out of ministry for a while because I need to take care of my family. And, I could use some insight and some thoughts. And it's a safe place. It's a safe place where, people are able to bring up these things. And so that was Scott putting that together, because we have conversations about bears, which apparently came from one of our podcasts, which I still got to go back and listen to because I don't even know what we talked about. We are always talking about rap from the 90s most of the time. Like, who's the better rapper? So if you're sitting there going, well, I don't listen to rap. I'm more of a country and Western guy. It's all right. You'll still dig it.
I'm into punk, but I think it is so funny that I'm listening to this thing and people are talking, and you guys, a lot of you guys know what the other, and then hearing you guys, like, people will vox in like versions of it, like they'll sing it. It's hilarious. But what's really rad
I took a picture of my car radio when I was playing Ice Ice Baby, right? So it says Ice Ice Baby. And I'm not kidding. Cameron came in and like did the whole chorus, man. He was just like, boom, just rattled it off from memory.
Yeah, he's a church planter up in Seattle. And man, it is a sweet group. You got everything from a guy who does weddings professionally to that's his Bible income, so he can minister in a multi-team church plant. You've got Cameron, who I coached years ago and trained years ago. He's actually a part of New Breed, but he's a photographer, and so he's upping his business through that. Led to tons of leads. I mean, it's cool to see what everybody's doing. We've seen guys missionally engaged like never before, so it's been rad.
Yeah, it has been. Which actually, I will use that as a segue into my smack talk, which isn't really smack talk. So a couple of weekends ago, we had the Mayweather-McGregor fight. I'm sure you watched that, didn't you, Peyton?
I heard about it.
So I was like, dude, there's no way I'm spending money on this fight when every single person on the planet knows McGregor's going to lose. Like, it's no one even wondered. It wasn't even like, oh, we think he's got a shot. No one outside of McGregor thought he had a shot. And even McGregor, I think, was like, just give me my $60 million or whatever the heck he made. And it was like, I don't even care what happens, which would have been me. I will totally let Floyd Mayweather beat me up for 36 minutes if you want to give me, I'll even settle for $1 million. If you want to give me $1 million, beat me up for 36 minutes. I'm cool with that. If I survive, I got $1 million. I'm down. So
despite my short man syndrome, I can't take hits very well. Right? I have a glass jaw. You hit me, my brain goes, whoa, whoa. I don't want to be around for this. Dude, you can knock me out so easy.
Hold on there, cowboy. No, I'm not even going to tell the story. That's
come on.
No, story's
I won't do that to you.
Nope.
Tell it with full confidence.
I can't anymore. Come on. Hey,
come on, strip down and let it hang out, baby.
Church planner, you were going to hear another one of Pete Mitchell's great entertaining stories. Let's face it, that's the only reason why anyone listens to me on this podcast. It's not for the ministry insight, but you're not getting it now.
You edited yourself. That is a
did.
sign of growth for you, my friend.
I needed to edit myself. So let me just tell you what the bottom line is. I'm not going to tell you everything else, but here's the bottom line. I've been thinking that what I need to do is I needed to have like a movie night, right? Because I'm not into like the book groups. Like some churches, they got book groups. They're books I would never read. They're like, I'm more of a business book
reader. The girl
reader.
with the pearl earring. That just speaks Pete to me.
I don't even know what that is. Is that a book?
Yeah. It's a book and a movie, my friend. Well, which I have seen nor read either.
There was some meme on Facebook. Man, what were they talking about? It was like it was like Lord of the Rings, and someone's like, "Man, that's such a great movie. Do you think they'll make a book out of it?"
No.
It was hilarious. But yeah. So anyway, America. So anyway, my thinking is I was like, you know what? I'm much more into movies. I could totally do that. Just throw a movie night once a week at my house. But I got young kids, so then that brings in a whole nother dynamic, and it tends to make things difficult. And the fact that I am like an introvert on the 50 scale and don't know anybody outside of Peyton Jones and like 3 or 4 other people. So then what really struck me, one of the guys in the Platinum Bible Inner Circle, Andrew Terry, longtime listener of the podcast, awesome pastor. I noticed on Facebook that he's doing the McGregor Mayweather fight at his house. And I'm like, dude, I'm an idiot. I could totally do that.
Yep.
I mean, here's the thing. Jamie and I, we love watching the UFC TV show, and we like watching UFC. And for those of you who think I'm not saved already, that'll just, put you over the top with me. But I like refuse to pay for the pay-per-view events because I'm like, dude, I'm not spending $55 to watch a fight. I'm just not. Because I'm at my core, I'm totally cheap. However, I would totally spend it if I were having people over my house. I'd have no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So I think what I'm going to do is every fight from now on out, dude, party at Pete's house.
Absolutely. It's so funny because I was moving that day and my neighbor came over like a couple days before, and it's really cool because he's a nerd like me. He likes, he works at Comic-Con. He's a guy that gets me in. He's like, "Hey, you want to come to Comic-Con?" And I'm like, "Yeah, cool." He's like, "Well, you gotta move all this stuff once a forklift drives it off for a day, and then I'll give you a pass." Okay, no problem. So I've done that, a couple times, and it's cool because you're rubbing shoulders with like people that run one of the bigwigs over at Blizzard Entertainment. I'm hanging with that dude going, "That's rad." So, he's like, "You want a job?" I'm like, "Yeah." But I didn't
forget this church planting business. I'm working for Blizzard.
I want to go work for video games, which never mind. So anyways, what
did you just self-edit yourself? That's a moment of growth for Peyton Jones.
It was kind of obvious where I was going, but here's the deal. He came over and he was all excited. He's like, "Hey man, the fight's going on." I'm like, what fight was what fight?" Because I don't have TV, Yeah. I'm not socially aware anymore. And so anyways, that day he came over and he goes, "Hey man," he came out like a little kid and he was like, "Hey, we just pulled up the pit." And I go, "What do you mean the pit?" He goes, "Oh yeah, we barbecued a pig and some chicken." And, he was barbecuing. He dug a pit in his backyard. And dude, it was some of the most melt in your mouth, heavenly things. And I was moving and I told him, "Well, look, I got the truck all loaded up, to go into the apartment because the house flooded. So hold on, and Andrea looks at me and goes, "I've never seen him that excited. You need to go right now." It's like, and I went over there and it was honestly like, if you really want to reach your neighbors, you do what Pete is talking about right now, or you go to what they're throwing. If nobody's throwing one, you throw one. And you become the hero of your neighborhood. On Labor Day, Anna and I, we usually do something on the street. This year we're not. We're being selfish. We're going to Pete's favorite place, Disneyland, for a few days, few nights, and
really
a few
days. Wow.
Yeah, dude, we're going for a couple days.
It's only like the hottest Southern California has ever been, and you're going. You're crazy.
I know, what's wrong with that. And so what we do is we rent bounce houses and we do this big giant spread, and we're at the bottom of the cul-de-sac, so we do a giant street party. First time we did that, it was like, and I found this on your street. You throw a party on your street, instant community.
Yeah.
It's like the foundation. Throw a stinking party. By the way, let me give a shout out to Hugh Halter's book, Happy Hour, which is basically how to throw a party. The other guy who's really good at that, by the way, is Caesar Kalinowski. Caesar Kalinowski, if you go to his website, he not only does he tell you how to posture, how to engage, he'll give you like recipes and crap. Like, hey, my wife and I have been doing this 20 years. These are things little life hacks for throwing parties, building missional community. Pretty good stuff there. So that's just a cheap takeaway. But Pete, it's funny because I really want to hijack our own. We were going to do a different topic today, but again, as has been the case in the last month, we keep just stumbling into our topics
Let's get down to the nitty-gritty.
Here's the deal. I want to talk about, and this is not Church Zero, cha-ching. This is reaching the unreached, becoming raiders of the lost art, cha-ching. You've hit on something that is really pretty much the heart and core of that book, and that is when you just allow the Holy Spirit to come through you as evangelism happens. You would naturally be operating in the gift of hospitality, which is a spiritual gift. It has a missional focus. It's why every leader in every church, Paul says, oh, by the way, the gift that they must have is hospitality. They must have that gift. They must practice the gift of hospitality as a leader. Their home must be open. They must be able.
That's why I can't be a leader in a church.
But you are. See, what's amazing is your evangelism is just going to naturally happen by you being Pete Mitchell. Opening up your home, opening up your living room, not preaching a sermon, not getting all, warm and fuzzy and asking people about their feelings or dropping tracts in a phone booth, just by hosting the fight. A big spread, a barbecue, smoking some cigars, watching the fight, because you're not a Southern Baptist, swigging some beer and having your neighbors and your community over, the people from Luke's preschool, right? The people that I saw at this party. That's natural evangelism. And the Holy Spirit will supernaturally operate through that. That's the heart of reaching the unreached, to be honest.
Maybe that's how we do it too. Maybe because then the next thought. Here's the thing, guys. If you've listened to the podcast for a while, you know that I unashamedly mention I have a 100-inch TV. It's the world's greatest TV. It's 100 inches.
It is.
You don't get any better than that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Except I should have bought the 120-inch screen. I still kick myself to this day. And I might actually upgrade to that. Haven't yet. It's a projection TV. It's a high definition 3D projection TV. I mean, it's my own home theater. And we've also got, a big flat screen in the front room. We've got a, medium sized flat screen outside on our patio. I'm like, dude, if I paid for, the next fight or whatever, you can watch it on all 3 TVs. You know how many people I could pack in this house? Like, people could be watching it in every room. Do you want to be outside, hanging out there, watch it there? You want to be in the movie room, watch it there. You want to be in the front room, watch it there. And then I was like, okay, but I don't know anyone, right? Like, I can invite Peyton. Hey, why don't your family come up an hour and a half drive and come hang out at my house? Or, but what you just hit on, I think is perfect, because when we did Luke's birthday party just a couple of weeks ago, and we invited, all of his friends from what they call TK, which is, I don't know, it's something new. They didn't have that when I was growing up. It's like they spread kindergarten out over 2 years if you're really young. And so
I
it was like,
use that, man.
What do you mean?
I struggled in kindergarten. I could have used 2 years on that.
Yeah, I was the smartest kid in there. But so Jamie used Evite, right, to invite everyone. So we've got all their emails. But that could be the thing. Hey, you know, we're going to have fight night at the Mitchell house. Bring your kids. I don't know if that works. I don't know. I haven't thought the whole thing through.
You get a bounce house in the backyard. You hire a clown.
Well, the problem is you can't really do a bounce house because the fights are at night, so it's usually dark.
So?
Yeah, that's not going to work with a bounce house.
Get a Dayglow bounce house, man. Get a
dude, a glow in the
Dayglow
dark
wristbands.
But see, then parents feel like they got to watch their kid in the bounce house because they're still so young. Like these are all kindergartners.
Oh,
you know. Yeah, well, maybe they use that
hire
outside
an entertainer. TV. You know, get that Captain America guy, that sweaty Captain America back.
We had Captain America for Luke's 5th birthday, I think it was. Yeah, that was awesome.
It was in a heat wave, and that dude was wearing the World War II leather outfit. Let me just say, he was sliding in that costume.
He was like, the tip better be worth it because I'm dying here.
Or as Haas used to say on Bonanza, he's about as greased up as a polecat in water.
Yeah. So anyway, my point to your point was I like the idea. I mean, maybe I figure out how to leverage that off of Luke's and his friends. Because, when we interviewed Hugh Halter, he said kids are just a natural conduit to bring people together. Because you're always, as a parent, looking for, who can my kid hang out with?
Yeah. And this is the thing, is right now I'm training church planners, and I had a Zoom call last night with church planners, and my thing is always, because we're studying missional engagement together in these Zoom calls. And I just said, we were talking about how you share the gospel, and you and I were talking, I think it was last week or the week before, about 6 to 8 times people need exposure. And of course, Paul,
I don't think we talked about that on the podcast.
We didn't. We talked about it outside.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
So you and I were chatting about how, on average, the statistic, if it's true, states that people normally need about 6 to 8 conversations around the gospel before they convert. And you started laughing. And you were like, man, is that a true statistic? And I go, well, it's the one I read. And you go, that's funny, because that's actually the same in sales. We say that exact same thing. And I said, well, maybe that's just how the human mind and heart works.
Yeah, there was a Harvard Business Review study, or I should say it was published in Harvard Business Review. And it was all these stats on sales, follow up, when you call them, days of the week to call, all that stuff. And one of the key stats was it was technically about 6 to 9 follow-ups to get the majority of people to buy your product.
Right.
And that's why I was laughing, because you're like 6 to 8. And I'm like, dude, it's the same in sales. You basically got to follow up with people 6 to 8 times. Kind of like those Bivo pastors who are like, I can't believe you're sending me so many emails. Why are you trying to get me into your program? Because it takes 6 to 8 times to get you in. That's why.
Well, that's what I was talking about last night, because we were talking about all this missional engagement stuff and how Paul says, I sow, another waters, and another reaps, but God alone gives the increase. And I go, now think about that chronologically. Paul's not saying it's a one-hit wonder. And I asked them to go back in time and think about all the times that they had a one-hit wonder. And they, a couple of them said, I think I've had one of those or 2 of those. And I said, right. Describe to me what it's normally like when someone comes of faith. And they all started describing processes, like stories where this happened and I was working on a car with this guy, my neighbor, and on and on. And because I said, look, I'm not talking about people in your church. That's not what I'm interested in, because my goal was eventually to get them talking about their people. Because I said, look, if you're going to be the rock star in your church, I'm not interested in that. If you're just going to be the guy winning people to Jesus, you will become the bottleneck. What I'm concerned about is awakening the gifts of the average everyday believer in your church. That's when movement happens. Movement doesn't happen until that happens. So if you're the guy that's the guy leading everyone to Jesus, you're the bottleneck of your church. You're not the hero, right? You need to actually be empowering and equipping them. So when I asked about, Paul's talking about it being a process, I said, now get in the mind of your average believer in your church. Do they understand this? Because if they don't understand this, this is hindering them from sharing the gospel. And they go, so it was basically, well, how's that happening? How is it hindering them? And what we began to unpack was, when people hear these stories of conversions from the pulpit, it's often the one-hit wonder story. And Paul, you know, and I met this guy and we told the story. I was outside of a 7-Eleven and blah, blah, blah. What Paul does is he says, no, it's a process. And so what our people do is they hear these one-hit wonder stories. They go away and they share the gospel. They fail miserably in their own eyes because nobody gets saved. The person gives them pushback and they think, man, I'm just not an evangelist. I am no good at this. And so what we talked about was you have to let your people know, teach them what Paul's teaching them here. Teach them it's a process. Teach them about the 6 to 8 conversations. Teach them that people need time to process. They need to talk things through. They need to throw out their objections, and that God alone is giving the increase during that time. Otherwise, if you allow your people to think that if it's just they share the gospel and the person doesn't come to Christ, well, they just must not be interested, and I move on. No, that is not empowering your people. And so what happens when we have this situation where, like, you're going, I know what I can do, that gives you the platform to engage in a process of transformation in your community. That's what we're talking about. And that's what Reaching the Unreached is really about. It's allowing your spiritual gifts to come alive. You're talking about the gift of hospitality. You're saying, I'm not a people person, but I could open my home. And I cannot tell you how many people are not people that have the gift of hospitality. I've seen this time and time again. And that's what Rick Warren was. Remember that time we had dinner with Rick Warren and he talked about that.
Hold on. Let me drop that name again. You remember the time that Peyton Jones and Pete Mitchell had dinner with Richard Warren?
Richard P. Phineas Warren. and he dropped down for 3.5 hours. Some of the most amazing insight and wisdom I've ever heard. And he told us, he goes, there's people that never lead a study, but what I do is I ask, we don't want you to lead it. We want you to host it.
That's right. He did.
Yeah. That's what he was hitting on.
I totally forgot about that. Yeah. He, what he did was, this is when he was first starting small groups. The pastor at his church who did the Wednesday night service, which had, according to Rick, about 3,000 people a week show up. That pastor just came to Rick and was like, you know what? I think we got to shut this down. We got to shut down our Wednesday night service and we need to go to small groups. And Rick's point in telling us that part of the story, he goes, this is like a pastor of a 3,000 person church going, we need to close this down if we really want to reach the neighborhood. And he goes, you know, the mindset of someone like that is something to be, he's basically saying that this is something to be desired, right? You know, you want someone who's thinking this ministry minded, not like, I got a 3,000 person church. I'm the big guy, right? Because I do the Wednesday service. You know, how many people have the humility to step away from that, to step away from their 3,000 member church to go, look, if we really want to reach the community, we got to get small again. And so part of what Rick did is he put out, you know, they did their little, hey, you know, dog and pony, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do these 6 weeks on, I don't remember what the topic was, but it was just a 6-week thing. And we need some homes to do it at. If you'd like to be one of those homes, you know, stand up or whatever. And they got those people. And then he said, okay, now we need, you know, some people who are going to host these. We're going to match you up with someone who's going to let us use their home. And if you're going to be the host at it, all you got to do, and I love this part because I was like, I could do that, is you got to put the DVD in the DVD player and hit play. That's all you got to do. Yeah. And I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah. And, you know, not to flog our own stuff, but shoot, man, the jump goal is the jump goal. The Jump School series, 7-part DVD. You could show that, man. That whole thing is to mobilize people to church plant. That's what that is. You know, part of the apostolic gift is mobilizing others. This is my passion. We talk about the difference between an evangelist. The evangelist goes out and gets church people or unchurched people into the church. The apostle gets the church people and drives them out of the church, right? In a good way, on mission. So almost everything that I do is about mobilization. It took me a few years to realize this. And then this year, Exponential was like, hey, will you run the mobilization track? We've read Reaching the Unreached. We think that's the category. And sure enough, that's the category. It is to mobilize everyday believers to use their gifts, because that's a secret of church planning, really. Missional engagement in church planning is Paul coming in, going, I'm going to blow the heck out of Dodge. I need to empower, equip, and raise up others so I can leave. And then that's it. That's ninja planning. That's the secret. So you can't, for church planners that are coming, they're trying to run, they're planning a church, but the only difference is that it's them in the pulpit instead of the guy at the church they came from. It's not going to work. And that's what I see church planners doing all the time. If you do what that pastor did, where he goes, let's decentralize leadership. Let's decentralize everything from the guy up front and give power to the people. That's when the revolution happens in missional engagement. That's where Jesus sends out the 72 and goes, okay, you watched me, you were with me, then you did stuff with me. Now I'm sending you out and you're going to go do it on your own. That's the power. And you could do a small group with reaching the unreached. And I don't often plug this anymore. I think we're out of our big hardcore reaching the unreached marketing phase. But Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And he's basically saying that nowadays, you give people information. This whole podcast for the last 4 years has just been us giving free stuff and free content and free training. And that's the jab, jab, jab over 4 years. It's not often that I say, hey, if you want to do something to like show appreciation or thanks, buy my book. But that's my right hook. That's my right hook. That's my pitch. That's my sell. If you want, other than leaving like a like or a subscribe or a review of the podcast, but really the main thing, church planners listening, buy this book, buy it in bulk, buy a box. If you do that, man, we'll call it even. That's literally, I'll give you the last 4 years of content, but honestly, more for the sake that if you're listening and you're not putting this stuff into practice, what we're talking about, get that book in your hands. That book was not written for you as a leader. That book was written for the people in your church to activate them, to do exactly what we're talking about with Pete here, where Pete's going, I could do that, man. I could have hosted a fight. And I think I'm going to start doing fight nights. That's the difference it's going to make in your church plan. They're going to go out there and missionally engage. I want to see their gifts awakened so that they can literally be the star player, not you.
Mic drop. Boink.
That was pretty much what that was.
Yeah.
So buy the book, buy it in bulk. Cha-ching.
Maybe, Peyton, what you should do is do like a 6-week cohort that we go through in the Bivo Inner Circle, where we do some training, we do some talking on the Voxer group. We'll set up a separate Reaching the Unreached Voxer group. How do you feel about that, Mr. Jones?
I'm getting ready to record that starting this week.
Nice.
I've been looking for a camera to record because I don't have my camera anymore. I bartered it away for Church Planning Minute videos. And anyways, I talked to the guy. I said, hey, do you still got the camera? He goes, no. And he goes, your iPhone 7 is a better camera than what you bartered for me for. He goes, I sold that thing and bought a really good one. But he goes, your iPhone 7, it has a crazy good camera.
Really?
So I'm getting ready to do my own videos on iPhone 7. How rad is that?
That is pretty rad, actually. I mean, I'm kind of impressed by that. I like that.
Yeah, he's like, he goes, which iPhone do you have? And I go, 7. He goes, you have a 7? I go, yeah. He goes, okay, that camera is crazy good. That was Dan Torres.
Yeah, I know. I could figure that out.
I was impressed. I was like, all right. So, boom.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'll probably be getting the iPhone 8 Plus. I'm gonna upgrade to the Plus this time.
Is that even a thing?
It's coming out next month.
What? I just bought my 7.
Oh, you bought it too late.
I always do that.
But I don't know how it works, because I had to do that whole payment plan thing, because at the time they weren't just selling it to you outright.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it'll work when I upgrade, because I normally do every 2 years, but come on. It's tech.
Yeah, they're tricksy hobbits, man. They know how to get you.
I was telling this to one of my assistants. I go, I'm like the cheapest guy you'll ever meet until it comes to technology. Then I just blow money on, oh, what? Alexa? Like Alexa right now is like, I can't hear you. I'm like, I think it's the stupidest thing I've ever bought is Alexa. And yet it's tech. I got to buy it.
Yeah. She can't ever hear you.
No, she hears me, but she can't do anything. She's no Siri. That's all I'm saying. She is no Siri.
Siri and me don't get along. She'll be like, I'm sorry. Like, I'll say, pull up Adobe Photoshop, and she'll say something like, I found 5,900 Adobes in Texas. I'll be like, what? What are you talking about? You know, she and I don't get along well.
Yeah.
I yell at her a lot. And she actually told me off the other day because I yelled at her, and she said, that was uncalled for, Peyton. She literally told me that. Yeah.
She did not.
She did, I swear.
My family thinks it's
I might have been saying unpastoral things.
Because you know how you can have Siri address you any way you desire?
Yeah.
So Siri addresses me as Master Jedi. So when I'm like using Siri in the car, you know, because we get the Apple Play on the talking charger.
Yeah.
She'll be like, here it is, Master Jedi. Everyone in my family.
So she calls me Ninja Warrior.
Oh, does she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Jedis are better than ninjas. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So listen to this. Here you go. We got way off topic here, but. Oh, hold on. My headphones are on. Dang it. Stupid.
See,
Siri.
I don't like those. I can't spend money on those iPod headphones or whatever they're called because I'm afraid I'm going to lose them. My dogs are going to eat them.
They got a little box that you got to put them in. So here, watch. Siri, what do you call me?
Whom shall I help you call?
See? I told you, we don't get along. Siri, what do you call me?
You're Peyton, but since we're friends, I get to call you Ninja Warrior.
And we've devolved back into
Hold on. Siri?
I'm sorry, Master Jedi. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Doesn't really matter. You got the point. I hate Siri too.
That's the point I'm making about Siri. She is lame.
But she's still better than Alexa. That's how bad Alexa is.
I would end up punching Alexa across the room. Trust me.
Yeah.
Technology and I do not get along.
Technology and I
like
usually do get along. It's just the AI stuff is stupid so far.
I feel like it's the beginning seeds of betrayal for the robot uprising when Siri does not work for me.
Yeah. So anyway, back to our actual topic.
Yeah, back to missional engagement.
Yeah. So drop on me some more nuggets on missional engagement.
Well, you know, I think that one of the things that we need to really kind of talk about is just being activated in being you. Like I remember there was a quote, and I have it reaching the unreached, cha-ching, where it says, don't ask what the world needs. Instead, ask what makes you come alive. Because what the world really needs is Christians that are fully alive. And that has always been a really powerful quote to me. I heard that maybe 15 years ago, and I had to turn it over in my brain a bit and think about it because it first got dropped. My brother-in-law is a professor at Azusa, and he always is way ahead of the curve. And when we talk, he'll say things that they don't really get mainstream till about 5 years later. And I've learned to listen to him because normally when he says them, I think, oh, that's bullcrap, right? Like that's not real at all. And then I go, whoa, you know, like he told me years ago, he goes, guys now with seminary degrees are getting jobs in the secular workplace because they feel the way to missionally engage is to go join the business world or go join this. So he said they're not going into churches anymore, right? They're affecting change at a different level, you know, one person at a time. But it was interesting because he gave me that quote, and it was in that context of people who were, say, good at business, or people that were going to go do whatever they did to the glory of God. Like Paul says, he's writing to average everyday believers in Corinth. He says, whatever you do to the glory of God. When you work with your hands, work unto God, not unto men, and people will see your work and give glory to God. And these are the things that we're still tapping into. But in reaching the unreached, I basically was saying, look, I need you to be alive. And there are things that you do. Like, why would you not harness your interests and your hobbies and your passions and your artistic gifts or your gifts in technology? Why would you not take those things and serve them for the kingdom? It was like my buddy Chris in Texas, who was a mechanic, a car mechanic who ripped people off for years. And when he came to faith, he's like, I'm going to fix people's cars for what they can afford. As kind of like the guy who says, look, Lord, I've given back all the money I stole, the tax collector who comes to him and says, Lord, I've restored the money that I stole from people, but I added interest to it. And Jesus goes, whoa, you're not far from the kingdom. I think there's a way to that guy was like, I need to use my gifts to fix cars. And he was leading people to Christ all the time in Texas. He actually was in Rockport that just got hit by the hurricane. And so
I dig it. So in other words, which, by the way, you kind of reminded me of it when you brought up Hugh Halter, his book, Happy Hour. So when we were interviewing him, I bought, he's like, yeah, I sell it in bundles on my website. And so I went and I bought a bundle. You know what a bundle was? It was 5 books. I said, Hugh, why isn't it 6? You should have a 6-pack. It's called Happy Hour. Why is it not a 6-pack of books? It doesn't make any sense to me.
He needs a marketer in his back pocket. I'm just saying.
Hugh doesn't need a marketer. Hugh's Hugh. Everyone knows who Hugh is.
I know. I'm just teasing. But here's the thing, right? Honestly, it's whatever you do, whatever you normally do. Just, Planner, you got to train your people to think about, it's one of the things I hit on in Church Zero, which was gift-driven ministry. You let the people determine the direction of the church. Now, Will Mancini has this in his Venn diagram for Kingdom Concept. I just blogged about that yesterday at my website, PeytonJones.ninja. Well, this is just the shameless plug hour today. But, it basically, he's got like a formula and system. Now, for me, it's a little bit different because I get where he's going. That's for your leadership team. But for me, gift-driven ministry was all about what gifts do I have here collectively in this church? Because that surely has to be part of the strategy of the Holy Spirit. And I need to pay attention to that.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it, man. I get it. Well, I think we beat that one to death.
Yeah, I think we did. Well, guys, gals, if you appreciated this podcast today, leave us a review, subscribe, even share it. That would be wonderful. Share it on your social media channels. That helps people see us, and it helps us get bigger advertisers.
And if you are thinking that, hey, you know what, I need to get people in my church to start implementing some of these things, one thing we know for sure is that you definitely then are not going to have time to do payroll. You're not going to have time to do the IRS compliance. You're not going to have time for any of that stuff. So, Peyton, where should they go?
They should go to simplifiedchurch.com, which is a service by planters for planters. And when I say it's by planters, don't worry, it's not the millennials and hipster genes that are going to take forever. I mean, these are CPAs and accountants that are also church planting, and they will get it done for you. They understand all the ins and outs of managing a church.
Boy, are my dogs barking.
Well, Pete, you're awfully excited about that. Woof, woof. But here's the... it's always something in the middle of our ad.
I'm telling you.
Something.
I'm telling you.
That's why the pre-recording is
It's
a good
too
option.
hot. It's too hot for me to leave or close my door, which is what I normally do to keep the dogs from barking.
And Pete turned his fan off. But here's the deal.
Hold on.
Simplified Church.
Knock it off!
You so got to leave that in. Knock it off! Simplified Church will take care of all of your paying bookkeeping needs. Then IRS compliance.
Oh my gosh, we murder our commercials.
SimplifiedChurch.com. That's all I'm saying. I'm done.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Church Planter Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Peyton Jones. We'd love to hear your comments on this episode of the Church Planter Podcast. Visit us online and let us know what you thought at churchplanterpodcast.com. If you subscribe to us via iTunes and have enjoyed the podcast, leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive in iTunes, the more iTunes will promote us to other church planners who would benefit from this show. This podcast is brought to you by the Church Planner Magazine, which is available in the iTunes newsstand or online via churchplannermagazine.com.